Where do you see opportunities? Which all sectors, which all themes you are seeing opportunity?
What we are seeing,
Which all pockets you see in manufacturing has good opportunity?
we saw that the largest engineering companies in the world. So these are newer opportunities which are coming.
I saw your portfolio. The largest holding, no doubt it's a fantastic power company, trading at 800 times price to earning multiple. Are you still comfortable holding such company?
The future potential of some of these companies may be very different.
I saw your portfolio. I'll display it for the viewers as well. Your second highest holding is in. Do you see it as a concern if somebody want to invest for 5-10 years kind of?
We have used it to buy.
హలో ఫ్రెండ్స్, వెల్కమ్ టు మనీ పర్స్. లెట్స్ లెర్న్ సంథింగ్ న్యూ టుడే. రీసెంట్ టైంలోని మనం ఒక 10 మంది మ్యూచువల్ ఫండ్ ఇన్వెస్టర్లు పిక్ చేసి నువ్వు ఏ ఫండ్ హౌస్లో ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేస్తావంటే అట్లీస్ట్ 7-8 మంది కాన్ మ్యూచువల్ ఫండ్ అని చెప్తారు. ఎందుకంటే వాళ్ళ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ అలా ఉంది కాబట్టి. నౌ సైలెంట్గా ఆ కాన్ మ్యూచువల్ ఫండ్కి ఇంకొక ఏఎంసీ టఫ్ కాంపిటీషన్ ఉంది. చాలా మంచి పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ కూడా డెలివర్ చేస్తుంది. ఎవరైతే ఎర్లీ స్టేజ్లో పట్టుకోగలిగి స్మార్ట్ ఇన్వెస్టర్స్ ఉంటారో వాళ్ళు ఆల్రెడీ ఐడెంటిఫై చేశారు. అండ్ ఇన్ఫాక్ట్ మన వ్యూవర్స్లో చాలా మంది కూడా ఈ ఏఎంసీ గురించి అయితే క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుతున్నారు. కానీ యాక్చువల్లీ పోస్ట్ కోవిడ్ ఇన్వెస్టర్స్ ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో డెఫినెట్లీ వాళ్ళ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ చూసిన తర్వాత అట్రాక్ట్ అవుతారు. కానీ నాలాంటి ఓల్డ్ ఇన్వెస్టర్స్ ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో వాళ్ళకి ఓన్లీ ఇప్పుడు రీసెంట్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ మాత్రమే కాకుండా పాస్ట్ హిస్టరీ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో ఆ ఫండ్ హౌస్ రిలేటెడ్గా అవన్నీ కూడా బ్యాగేజ్ ఉంటాయి. కాబట్టి అంటే నేను జేఎంఏఎంసీ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాను. జేఎంఏఎంసీ అనగానే వీళ్ళకి సందీప్ సబర్వాల్ టైంలో దే హ్యావ్ సీన్ ఏ వెరీ వెరీ బ్యాడ్ ప్యాచ్. అక్కడి నుంచి సర్వైవ్ అయ్యి రికవర్ అయ్యి ఇప్పుడు మళ్ళీ చాలా మంచి పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ అయితే డెలివర్ చేస్తున్నారు. సో అలాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్ నుంచి వీళ్ళు అసలు ఎలాంటి చేంజెస్ వాళ్ళ ఫండ్ హౌస్లో తీసుకొచ్చారు, ఎలాంటి ప్రాసెస్లు బిల్డ్ చేశారు, ఇవన్నీ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ రాకుండా మనం ఓన్లీ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఆధారంగానే ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ డెసిషన్ తీసుకోకూడదు కదా. అందుగురించి ఈ జేఎం మ్యూచువల్ ఫండ్తో 10 years ప్లస్ నుంచి జర్నీ చేసిన ఫండ్ మేనేజర్ అసిత్ భండార్కర్ గారు ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో ఆయన హైదరాబాద్ వస్తున్నారనగానే ఐ హావ్ టేకెన్ హిస్ అపాయింట్మెంట్ అండ్ ఐ ఆస్క్డ్ హిమ్ దీస్ క్వశ్చన్స్. యాక్చువల్లీ నా పర్సనల్ రిలేటెడ్గా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుదాం అనుకున్నాను. అండ్ ఇన్ఫాక్ట్ ఎనీవేస్ వ్యూవర్స్ కూడా హెల్ప్ఫుల్ అవుతుంది కదా అని చెప్పి వీ హ్యావ్ రికార్డెడ్ ఏ వీడియో. ఈ వీడియోలోని ఈ ఫండ్ హౌస్ రిలేటెడ్గా మాత్రమే కాకుండా దే ఆర్ డూయింగ్ రియలీ గుడ్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ పరంగా. నవ్ యాక్చువల్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఎలా వస్తుంది అండ్ అలాగే ఇలాంటి పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ కంటిన్యూ అవుతుందా లేదా, అండ్ ఇంకొకటి కరెంట్లీ ఆయన ఎక్కడ ఎలాంటి స్టాక్స్లోని ఆపర్చునిటీ చూస్తున్నారు, ఇవన్నీ కూడా చాలా డీటెయిల్ డిస్కషన్ అయితే నడిచింది. వీడియోని కంఫర్టబుల్గా మీ దగ్గర ఏదైనా నోట్స్ పెన్ ఉన్నట్టయితే తీసుకుని డీటెయిల్గా రాసుకోండి. యూ విల్ డెఫినెట్లీ లెర్న్ ఒక ఫండ్ మేనేజర్ ఒక ప్రాస్పెక్టివ్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది, స్టాక్ పికింగ్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది, ఇవన్నీ కూడా మీకు నేర్చుకోవడానికి అయితే వీడియో హెల్ప్ఫుల్ అవుతుంది. వీడియోని చివరి వరకు చూడండి. అండ్ ఇంకొక ఇంపార్టెంట్ థింగ్, యాక్చువల్లీ ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేసేటప్పుడు చాలా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగాను, ఆయన డీటెయిల్గా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశారు. అండ్ వీడియో చూసినప్పుడు నాకు ఎక్కడ ఎడిట్ చేయాలనిపించలేదు. ఇలాగే అప్లోడ్ చేసినట్టయితే మన వాళ్ళకి కంప్లీట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ వెళ్తుంది కదా అనిపించింది. అందుకని లెంత్ అలాగే ఉంచాం. లెంత్ చూసి అయితే వరీ అవ్వద్దు. యూ విల్ డెఫినెట్లీ లెర్న్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ న్యూ కంటెంట్. అండ్ అలాగే వీడియోని స్పీడ్ పెంచుకోండి. స్పీడ్ పెంచుకొని చూసుకున్నట్టయితే మీకు ఇంకొంచెం ఈజీ అవుతుంది. అండ్ అలాగే తెలుగులోనే ఎవరికైనా ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ కావాలంటే తెలుగు ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ కూడా వీడియోలో ఉన్నది. అండ్ వీడియో చూసినప్పుడు వీడియోలో షేర్ చేసిన కంటెంట్ నచ్చినట్టయితే వీడియోని తప్పకుండా లైక్ చేస్తూ మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్ అండ్ ఫ్యామిలీ మెంబర్స్కి ఇలాంటి క్వాలిటీ వీడియోస్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఎంకరేజ్ చేస్తేనే ఇంకొన్ని తీసుకురాగలుగుతాం. సో మ్యాక్సిమం పీపుల్ షేర్ చేయడానికి అయితే ప్రయత్నించండి. అండ్ అగైన్ ఐ హ్యావ్ టు గివ్ వన్ మోర్ డిస్క్లోజర్ వెరీ క్లియర్లీ, బికాస్ చాలామంది ఇలాంటి ఇంటర్వ్యూలు చూడగానే ఫస్ట్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ చూడకుండానే కామెంట్ పెట్టేస్తారు. సో వీ హ్యావ్ నో కమర్షియల్ రిలేషన్ విత్ దెమ్. ఇట్స్ ఓన్లీ నాలెడ్జ్ పరంగా ఐ వాంటెడ్, బికాస్ చాలామంది అగైన్ ఈ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఎలాగే కంటిన్యూ అయితే ఈ ఫండ్లో ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేయాలని క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుతారు. యాక్చువల్లీ అలా పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఆధారంగా కాకుండా ఫండ్ హౌస్ ఒక ప్రాస్పెక్టివ్ అర్థం చేసుకుంటారన్న థాట్ ప్రాసెస్తో వాళ్ళని తీసుకొచ్చి ఇంటర్వ్యూ అయితే మీ ముందు తీసుకొస్తున్నాను. ఐ హోప్ you will like this content. Let me play the interview now. Hi Asit, first of all thanks a lot for giving us this opportunity. We have close to 2 million Telugu investors who watch this channel and they'll be curious because the performance you guys are delivering is fantastic of late, and from last 4-5 years whichever the AMC they are in limelight, you are beating them and delivering that return. So obviously there is a curiosity for sure which has built. Now the only thing which I see is many want to understand from where this sudden outperformance coming in across JM funds, and then is it sustainable? Because these are the two questions. I know it will not, it'll straight away I'm asking you little deeper questions, but this is the questions any investor carries. So let's discuss that part, and there is a lot more things I need to ask.
Sure. Thank you very much first of all for having me here. I am on a short trip to Hyderabad, but I'm so glad I could make some time for this.
Thank you.
And having heard from you about the profile of investors who watch this, I'm even more enthused about this interview. Coming back to the main business, yes, our performance has been quite satisfactory. Over past few years, we have approached the markets in a very systematic manner with a active process in place. See, we are a growth fund house, and what we have done is we sort of put out a process out there which helps us pick high growth stocks, but at the same time without compromising the quality. We focus a lot on cash flows, we focus a lot on the kind of ROE company generate.
Okay.
And also, the market has been very kind to us. Market has been very vibrant, our economy has been doing very well. And to that extent, I think we are fairly happy that we've been able to maximize the opportunities that have come by.
Okay.
On your point about consistency, it is our endeavor. Of course, nobody can make any promises. But if you actually see, more than what I say, what you have to see is how we have done over longer time frames. And if you actually examine our funds, although we are more vocal today, our men are out there trying to educate people. We have done a couple of NFOs in the last 3 years. But if you actually see our performance is good for last 1 year, yes. But even if you stretch the time frame, say 5 year or 10 year, you will find that our funds have done quite well.
Okay.
And it's not just the return, because returns may go up and down, but the quality of returns is very important.
Okay.
What we are most satisfied about is that our returns have been good, but if you see over the last 3 years, our portfolios have been reasonably low beta portfolios. We have tried to make sure that the volatility in our performance is less. We have had at certain points of time to sacrifice some near-term gains for this particular purpose. You let go of some high volatile, high beta stocks, but that discipline that we built into the team has really helped. Of course, it's a great teamwork at every level. My boss Satish, who is the CIO, as well as the rest of the members of the equity team, each of them have contributed significantly to this performance. But that said, it's not just the equity team; it's the whole employee base at JM Mutual Fund which has contributed. Because had my marketing and sales not gone out and pitched and got the money, at the end of the day, to keep the performance going also, if there is continuous flow of funds, it does help. And to that extent, I am very happy with the way things have turned out for us.
Okay. I have one more question.
Yes.
Before I ask this question, let me put the disclosure part. Guys, we don't have any commercial relation here. Okay, our intent is because fund house is doing really good. Okay, there might be a lot of investors who are interested. So now people who are interested, they should know what exactly happening in the fund house. So that is the reason I requested Asit to give us some time. So just want to put the disclosure.
Sure.
Now coming to my other question, Asit, when it comes to JM as a fund house, still people who are new, post-COVID investors may not know much, but people who are there from 2008, 7, 6 and all, they know there are rough patches as a AMC. You guys have seen, you survived, because it's very tough. Many AMCs who have gone through such instances, they have not survived.
Yes.
But you have survived, now you're bouncing back.
Yes.
Now people who are like me, who knows from that time, they always carry that baggage as a funder. So how do you assure that kind of scenarios will not repeat? What kind of systems which has been set so that investors' interest will be protected?
I think that's a very good question. I think, see, I'll divide this into two parts. First of all, JM Financial MF is part of the JM Financial Group. JM Financial Group has a very long pedigree. In fact, we completed 50 years in capital markets, this year. We have a very large and very reputed investment banking practice. Our promoter, Mr. Nimesh Kampani, is extremely well-known and very highly respected individual.
Yes.
other than this, we are a large financial conglomerate as well. We have other businesses, including wealth, asset reconstruction company. We are one of the primary brokers, very well known on the institutional as the retail side. So that sort of, that's the ecosystem that we are part of. Yes, as an AMC, we've had our shares of ups and downs. And I think, what it has taught us is that markets will always have their own cycles. Ups and downs will come, and businesses will also have their ups and downs, and our business will also have their ups and downs. What is very important is that what kind of processes do we build in place to minimize the impact of such ups and downs on our investors. And we've had learnings from our past necessarily, but that said, we have gone above and beyond just the regulatory requirements, and we have put in place a lot of risk management measures, not only from a regulatory perspective, but even from the investment side. There are a lot of things that we sort of look for. In the earlier question itself, I did mention to you that how we are growth investors, but at the same time, we prefer to have a lower beta of our portfolios.
Okay.
We try to maximize the return of our portfolio by ensuring that each stock that we buy has to necessarily make its place in the portfolio by its sheer performance. We have several steps in our process which make sure that the drag and individual biases that come through, at the end of the day, each fund manager, I'm a human being, right? I will have my, biases. And the process, the way it works without getting into too much technicality is that isolates the individual biases. It makes sure that, individual biases are cured at the stage where if a particular stock is in my portfolio, it has to justify its presence. It has to give returns. I may have a 60 stock portfolio. It doesn't mean that I need to have 1 or 2 stocks which are not justifying their presence in the portfolio. Because small problems eventually become big. Right? So we have a process which monitors each of these things, and we make sure that anything that does not justify its place in the portfolio sort of goes out. Each stock has to contribute to the returns, and if we see there are certain laggards in our portfolio, although the fund manager bias may be there, although the analyst may be very bullish about it, we take a studied call, our research works on it, but yet if the performance, we give it time. If a particular stock doesn't work for us, it does go out of the portfolio. So
what kind of duration you guys keep for that?
See, what we try and do is that, if I look back now, I'll just answer it a little holistically, okay? Today, I have stocks in my portfolio which are in the portfolio for 12 years.
Okay.
Okay? There have been stocks which have been there in the portfolio for 10 years, for example.
Oh, okay.
But when we decided to sell them as an output of this process that I'm speaking of, we did not have any bias. We sold them in 3 days. Okay? So the process is most important, bias is second.
Obviously.
Right? So anything that we buy in our portfolio, we obviously want to buy. Of course, we do take tactical calls here and there, but broadly, our endeavor is to buy for 1 to 3 years at least, maybe longer. But there are times when the story doesn't play out the way we think. There are a lot of macro changes that happen after we buy. There are some micro problems that may happen, which necessitates a change. If our research can identify them well in hand, great. However, if the price performance start affecting my 3 month, 6 month performance, then we do isolate such stocks and examine the reason why they should exist in the portfolio or not.
Okay.
So, performance with consistency is what the goal of the fund management team is. That is how we are operating.
Okay. As a fund manager, okay, how do you pick a company? If an investor has to pick a company, okay, what do you tell them? What they need to take care of?
This is like praying to God. Okay? There are many ways to reach God.
Yeah.
Some people will pray 5 times a day. Some people will pray once a day. Some people will not pray at all, yet do their good deeds. So similarly, investing is like that. There is no one formula. Okay. What we have as a fund house devised a formula, and what we have realized is that India is a growth market, and typically what we've seen is growth stocks end up doing very well.
Yes.
Provided they take care of their balance sheet, because growth has its own pulls and pressures on the balance sheet, working capital requirement, etc. And of course, you have to have a great management backing it. So we as institutional investors, can invest in this process. We can do that extra bit of groundwork and in this process. And what we do is that we look at growth stocks. But we have very strict parameters in terms of what kind of return ratios it should generate. It might be a little technical topic for people,
can understand.
but we prefer high ROE generating company. The return on equity that it is the income for the shareholder has to be high. Our cutoff is sort of 15%. We prefer companies which generate very high operating cash flows. So on a bad day, they don't have to go to a bank for fundraising, or they don't have to go for an equity fundraise, because in a bull market, there's a lot of liquidity, you will have money coming through, but on a bad day, it will be difficult. For example, in 2020, we had a few days where market fell very sharply. On that day, if your balance sheet is not in place, then you won't be able to raise money. So we look at such companies where the longer term growth opportunity does exist, but it can withstand the shorter term pulls and pressures and shocks because of a very strong balance sheet. Of course, we do see the softer aspect where the opportunity is there. In this country, there is so much opportunity, right? We are going up the per capita GDP curve, and in the next few years, this country will be very different, because we are right now at $2,000, $2,300, $2,400 per capita, and we'll go probably in next few years to $5,000. Opportunity is there, but not everybody gets benefited the same way. Your execution will determine the outcome. So some companies will do it much better than other companies, and that is where the softer aspect is, where we track these companies over a long period of time versus what they say and how they deliver, and that is what gives us the confidence to back such companies.
Okay, from post-COVID, we are seeing continuous run-up in the markets. There are different sectors done really well. Many investors made a lot of money. Now, every investor will have one question. Okay, after this run-up, okay, where do we see opportunity to put fresh money? So where do you see opportunities? Which all sectors, which all themes you are seeing opportunity where you want, if you have money, if you get large sum of money, where are you going to park that money?
Sure. See, we are getting money on a continuous basis, so we are on the lookout for opportunities continuously. What we are seeing distinctively is that, the domestic economy seems to be doing very well.
Yes.
And particularly, I think manufacturing sector seems to be making a big comeback.
Okay.
Consequently, a lot of sectors which are dependent on manufacturing, or which benefit by the manufacturing sector doing well, like say power, capital goods, they're doing very, very well.
Yes.
We have a lot of government incentives which have come through post-COVID, like PLI, and there is general preference to make a lot of products in the country, import substitution, Atmanirbhar as we call it. So there is a tailwind, and we are seeing companies getting benefited because of that. And if you see our portfolios, that's sort of been a central theme. Okay. We were among the first fund houses which bet heavily on capital goods. Okay. And that has helped our performance. And we continue to be on the lookout for companies which keep getting benefit, because this is a cycle. At different points of time, different things start working. And we are very bullish about the way Indian economy is doing, and how the manufacturing sector will shape up over the next few years.
Okay. Can we be a bit specific in manufacturing? Because manufacturing is a vast theme altogether. So where do you see, which all pockets you see in manufacturing has good opportunity?
See, as I said, when we initially got in, we picked, we saw that the largest engineering companies in the world, which are also listed in India, they were actually mid-caps. Such has been the situation of a 10-year-long sort of drought in capex and all the difficulties that the Indian manufacturing sector has gone through. So we started with such names, and as we have followed through, we realized that there has been underinvestment all across. We've seen, and these are coming to fore now. We are seeing that there could be power shortages. because of sudden spurt in power consumption. So that's one sector which has again been sort of not doing so well, which has started to do well. But broadly, I think the bigger opportunity seems to be newer things that are emerging within power, renewables. Right? Today, renewable power, which earlier, say, I remember 15 years back, these renewable companies needed a subsidy. If we had to put up a wind power mill or a solar power panel, you had to give subsidy, otherwise it was not viable. Now the costs have come down, and their absolute cost today and the speed of implementation is so attractive that this could become a core infra play going ahead. That apart, we are seeing even in the autos and say two-wheeler side, where we sort of thought a few years back that there's been a fair bit of penetration. We are seeing EVs changing the game completely.
Yes.
The cost of ownership of a vehicle is dramatically coming down. And so these are newer opportunities which are coming. Also, what we are seeing is globally MNCs are now preferring India as a sourcing base.
Okay.
Lot of MNCs have been in this country for 50, 60, 70, in some cases even 100 years. Okay. So they know India very well. They were earlier reluctant to expand in India because of various issues. But now, I think post COVID, we are seeing increasingly in the Western world, there is an effort to depend more on countries like India and other countries rather than one single country that they used to depend on. This is an opportunity again, and companies which fall in this ambit are quite a lot of companies actually, where it is not just the pure commercial sense, but also the fact that you want to diversify your sourcing, as a first step. That is leading to some demand, and we are sure that with the way our infra is coming up now, with the way our dedicated freight corridor, the ports and all are falling in place, the cost of doing business in India will keep coming down. You would remember that corporate tax rate in India has already come down. There was an incentive for a few years where for a new manufacturing plant we gave income tax rates as less as 15%. That's as good as it gets globally. So there have been a lot of incentives, and the benefits of all these incentives are now being seen on the ground. See, it takes a while because the incentives may be given today, but the demand post COVID globally, interest rates have gone up. It's been a slow economy, but that now we are seeing the green shoots of corporate capex starting to happen, etc.
Asit, my next question is, see, I saw your portfolio. I'll display it for the viewers as well. Your second highest holding is in financials. Okay, when it comes to financials now, many of the banks struggling to garner deposit book, and that is actually creating pressure in many of the private banks. Except I know the stock which is in your portfolio is doing good, that company, but many as a team it's struggling. What's your take here? The valuation looks very comfortable, but this is the concern. Do you see it as a concern if somebody want to invest for 5-10 years kind of?
See, when we look at banks, and particularly the private banks that you mentioned, they have never been as cheap as they are today in the last 10 years. But obviously because of the challenges that you mentioned. And it's also demand and supply. See, I'll tell you, 3 years back, we saw that financial weightage in the core benchmark indices had become significantly high. And to that extent, although the books were clean, we did see and anticipate that competition would increase, and we decided to side with the disruptors rather than the companies which were getting disrupted. So that's a call which has helped us. But broadly, I think what we have really realized is that financials will grow at a particular pace, right? But when the real economy, the manufacturing, etc., starts picking up, the pace of growth there, especially the pace of growth of profitability there, will be much, much more. So we have used this opportunity in last couple of years to remain a little underweight on financials consistently. If you see our portfolios, more than the names, what you'll realize is that as a basket we hold less, and within the basket we hold the larger company significantly lesser, and that extra weight that we have saved here, we have used it to buy manufacturing companies and companies where we could see see what I told you in the beginning, that we are growth investors. we prefer our money to chase growth. And what we realized is that there are much better growth opportunities with better visibility than some of the financial names that you mentioned. That call has sort of worked out well for us because things have indeed turned the way we thought. Growth that we anticipated in other sectors has been much superior, and to that extent, being underweight on the highest weight sector in the index, we have not paid a penalty.
Okay.
Also, I think distinguish this market versus say 5 years back. India has now become a very broad-based economy. You know, earlier there was a time when only the few big companies did well and most of the other companies didn't do so well. And what we realized is last couple of years, maybe because of the reforms that we mentioned or maybe because of the corporate tax rate cut, etc., the performance of the companies and the economy as a whole has been more broad-based. And what it really means is that if I dig deeper, I get newer and better names. And we have used that, you know, in our portfolios. Our portfolios, which used to be, you know, a little tighter a few years back, you know, at about 30-40 stocks. If you see now, we run almost 60 stock portfolio in order to maximize this without sacrificing the growth potential of the portfolio.
Okay. How about the pharma as a sector now? What's it?
See, pharma had a golden period post-COVID, right? So, although India would remain a very competitive place for the world to pick up their medicines, the issue is post-COVID, you know, we have seen a valuation adjustment. We've also seen a scenario where the regulator, especially the companies which are exposed to the US regulator, they have seen regulations being very, very stringent. And I guess it's an adjustment phase. We are seeing a lot of companies which have adjusted to the new normal and started performing. Valuations also come down. But, you know, if you go back pre-COVID, you would remember that pharma has always been looked at as a medium growth, safe sector, you know. It may probably enter that phase, whereas what we are seeing in rest of the economy is that the growth rates are much higher in other sectors.
So my take is the capital goods, power, manufacturing is the one where actually investor makes money.
It is so right now.
Okay.
Yes, we have to be careful.
Because
I know the next question will come to valuations, right? And yes, so see, this is where the expertise of professionals comes in, right? Yeah. There was a time when it was a blind bet. You could buy anything top down and make money. But as the valuations of the market have gone higher, although that broader opportunity is good, but it and the end goal will also be reached, but the journey may become more volatile. Right? Because at higher valuations, one small event here and there will tend to induce volatility. And, you know, we are sort of a little bit better at managing the volatility because of our processes, and hence I think investors would start relying more on professional investors like us going ahead.
Obviously. And one more thing, as valuation topic came in, I saw your portfolio. The largest holding, no doubt it's a fantastic power company, but it has run up from 1,000 to 10,000-12,000 now. I can see 700, 800, it trading at 800 times price to earning multiple. Are you still comfortable holding such company?
Let's not go into specific names, but I'll answer it like this. See, what happens is that when certain companies are at a turnaround stage, then their historic earnings may not be of any relevance. The future potential of some of these companies may be very different, right? So 10 years back or in last 10 years, whatever has been the ordering, say solar, if more than that ordering is going to happen in next 1 year, okay, then the opportunity that you are seeing ahead is very different than what is in the past.
I agree.
What we have to see is that does the company have a balance sheet strength to execute that kind of opportunity, and does it have the capabilities? the physical capabilities to execute such a thing. I won't, defend valuation. Now the valuations are demanding. They will depend on how the company executes, and to that extent, we'll have to be careful. There will be companies who will justify their current prices and probably even do better, and there will be companies where there could be some hitch. So we, at our part, continuously interact with the companies. We continuously monitor their results. And to be frank, if something doesn't hold up to our standards and our valuation paradigm, then we are happy to get out.
Okay.
As I said, the longer term theme may be great, but at the end of the day, we do care about the stock price and the stocks that we buy. But we should not discount the fact that the past may not be the future for some of the companies. Some of the companies in power sector, particularly, if you're seeing, they were literally on CDR or they were on the verge of bankruptcy. Okay, and if we look at that number and say they are expensive, that may not be the right approach. The opportunity that we are seeing in front for some of these companies is far more dynamic and far more different. See, we are entering a new world where sectors like defense did not exist. Sectors like, railways did not, literally, railways is not a big sector at all. Yes. And you can see the kind of opportunity that exists there. These all get bundled up when you look at some of the cap good companies.
Just to give clarity to the viewers, see, the reason why he is not getting into the individual direct stock name, because there is a regulation attached to him, so he cannot particularly speak about a company. But see, overall, anyways, end of the day, we can figure it out and understand what his view. Okay, end of the day, the motive of this video is not to give out the stock names. It's to give out the knowledge, so that from that knowledge you can build whatever you want to in your investment style. One more question, chemical as a sector has done fantastically well post COVID, but of late because of Chinese dumping or whatever, entire theme is struggling a lot. Do you see any revival coming there?
See, again, chemicals is a very dynamic sector. It's not one word.
Yes.
All because agrochemicals have totally different dynamics than fluorochemistry or something like that. So it has to be seen in the context of the chemical that each company is present in. But broadly, what I would say is, chemicals, again, as a sector, the valuations had become simply too high. But the bigger point and I think that is really at play right now, is that most of these have been exporters. And, the global GDP post-COVID has sort of not done so well. Because globally there have been very sharp interest rates, which has led to some demand destruction. Post-COVID, there were shortages, and you are right. So that did lead to some exceptional demand and exceptional margins. But it's become too much of a tall order for most companies to match up to.
Okay.
When that was followed by very, very sharp interest rate hikes, I think most of these sectors which are outward facing, they have found it challenging to match up in performance. And consequently, if the sectors had higher valuations also, that would have got corrected. I guess we are in that correction phase.
Okay.
Is it a new revival for the sector, and is it going to go back to the old days? I would think it's going to be very, very selective.
It particularly depends on the company's mood, everything, right? Instead of a sectorial thing. The way mass rally happened, we might not see.
Exactly. That won't happen first. There would be a very distinct difference, because there would be certain companies which have very strong intellectual property, which have built very strong R&D pipeline, which have put a lot of money in new plants. They will benefit significantly, rather than companies which have very commodity businesses.
Yes.
I would think post-COVID, everything went up. Now when we look at next 5 years, everything shouldn't go up. That's unlikely.
Fantastic. And how about the IT part?
I think the same factors are at play here. Interest rate cuts globally have slowed down the end consumer demand, so the corporates are being more careful when they spend. But I think there's a bigger play here. The technology has also evolved, and the onset of AI, artificial intelligence particularly, has had its own impact on the mind share of large companies on how to allocate their IT spend. I think there is no clarity. People are reasonably sure. Say, I think post-COVID people are sure that cloud will grow, investments on cloud will grow. But now there is an added element of AI, which looks like it will come, but in what shape, form, how fast, you don't know. So what we are seeing is, in this confusion, the investors are no longer investing, or they have slowed down investment, which means very, very anemic growth for our IT companies. Product companies will have their own niche, and we've been preferring to focus on product companies rather than plain IT services companies, because these are dependent on whims and fancies and budgets of large global corporations, and we have found that to be a little bit of a challenge even now. And so, although the valuations of some of these stocks have corrected sharply, we are not seeing any recovery in sight on the financial performance side.
And the new age companies, I don't see much weightage you have given in any of your portfolios. What's your take here?
No, we've been selective. Yes, you're right. I mean, we have been quite selective. We had initially, post-COVID, we had concerns on valuation of some of these companies, and we did stay away. But we got a great opportunity as valuations corrected. So I won't say we've stayed away. We have participated in certain number of names there, and we do think that some of these names at a particular price will be very, very strong growth propositions. We see a very clear, some of the things that we like is strong free cash flow generation, and some of the new age companies do represent that. Yes, I think they have a fairly high cost structure, and once the break even happens, then the free cash flow improves quite dramatically. At the same time, you have to remember that they are dynamic. They are building a new market, literally. So there will be some recalibration of their growth plans and cash flow generation. So we are careful, but it's not that we don't have belief in them. We do believe in the growth story of several of them. I'm sure in our portfolio, you will keep finding them on and off. We'll be tactical in our allocation in these names.
And coming back to the fund you are managing as the focused equity fund, what is the number of stocks which you have kept as a restriction? Because focus fund goes with a limited number of stocks. So
yes. First of all, I'd like to sort of clarify, we're tight knit. We work as a team. So all of my analysts, my CIO, all of us work together. We don't have ye tera, ye mera kind of approach. It's a very fantastic teamwork that goes on, because we are in part of a growth journey, sort of at a stage where we have to all work together for the success of this place. And I think that spirit, it's been one of the big things which has been responsible for our fund house doing so well. And it's not one scheme. I just wanted to tell you that a large cap fund is also doing well, which has sort of 80% in large caps, or a value fund which has a very different mindset also is doing very well. Coming back to a focus fund as a category, so SEBI has put a limit of 30 stocks, and we are right now running it at its maximum diversified form. And we are running it at about 30 stocks, give or take one or two stocks here. Largely, if you see, we have been fairly conservative in this portfolio over a couple of years, because we had restructured this fund about 3 years back, and we just wanted to make sure that it is less volatile, at the same time does exhibit a strong growth characteristic. Now, we have come to a stage where we have established, the mandate in the sense how well we can size in a more diversified portfolio versus our earlier mandate. We have sort of identified, we have proved it. Now we intend to be a little more aggressive here. Right? But now if you see structure-wise, theme-wise, this fund also does the same thing. We are sort of underweight on financials. We are severely underweight on private financials, and we've used that weight tactically to play on manufacturing and capital goods.
So manufacturing is echoing in this room, I can say.
In the country, I would say.
Fantastic. So that's a good takeaway for my viewers for sure. Okay, and the last thing which I want to ask is, yes, I saw the beta is less than 1, but the standard deviation when I compared with peers, most of the funds is carrying higher standard deviation, and then also the turnover ratios is also higher side. What's your take here?
See, actually, we don't plan for a higher standard deviation or for a higher or lower turnover ratio. These are output of our actions, right? And our actions are determined, very frankly, by the opportunities market presents us.
Okay.
If I were to step back, say go back 4 years or 5 years, when we are in a very narrow market, market was not going anywhere, and where our stocks also were not generating any dramatic returns, you would see our turnover is very less. Because if I can't book profits, and then only I would have money to put down somewhere else, right? Now, last 2 years we've been in a very dynamic market where stocks are going up. You mentioned some stock has gone up, right? There have been stocks in our portfolio which have gone up 5x in 2 years. Obviously, I have to, if I had bought 2%, it would have become 10%. Then we can't be in that situation. So we have to sell. Now, this is a necessity. If I'm doing very well, okay, I would have to book profits and I would have to reallocate that money somewhere else. That's the optimum thing to do, right? Which would mean that your turnover goes up. Okay. So my point is we do the right thing. Okay. We don't bother about these ratios too much. Okay. We do bother about volatility. See, we have two things, as our core focus. Is there growth in the company? Yes or no? Are we paying decent valuations for that company? Growth adjusted? These are the two things. And are we going to get our returns with lesser volatility? For us, once these three things are there, then the turnover, standard deviation, these are sort of outputs. We would definitely.
See, the problem is why these many times I'm putting these questions, because obviously because of that very past thing. So nobody wants to see such kind of things. So it should not be one-off kind of. See, people should get that confidence that yes, I can invest in this fund house and I can stay invested for 10 years, 5 years or till my goal achieved. So that confidence.
No, I get what you're saying, and I'll tell you, rather than just look at some one number, I think what is better is to see is how have we done in shorter periods of time. How have we managed a bull period and a bear period? Long blogs may not be ideal. What you'll realize is that we've been fairly consistent. You want to take shorter time frames of 3 months, 6 months, you would realize that, in fact, a very interesting statistics we did, I think, for our tax fund, on a rolling 5-year basis, how many times did the fund get into fourth quartile? So 3-year rolling returns, because 3 year is the investment horizon for our tax fund. I think 0% of times the fund went into
duration?
This is 10 years.
10 years. Oh,
10 years.
Fantastic.
Right? And I'm just giving this example. You can do it for a flexi-cap fund. You can do it for other funds. Why does that happen? Because at a risk management level within the department, within the fund house, at the IEC level, at the IAAC level, there are various checks and parameters which sort of force us to weigh consistency over risk taking. Suppose we are taking bets which are outsized, but where we are not able to get consistent return, they sort of get cured out. So internally our mindset also has become like this, where we are trying to give returns consistently. Right? In fact, when we look at two stocks with similar opportunity, or one which will probably be a more volatile way to make money, we will go for a less volatile name. That's how now our internally team mindset is also built.
Asit, see, end of the day, what investor wants is return. Okay. Now this market condition, whatever it is, you assess. If somebody is putting money to you, and if he wants to stay for next 5 years, okay, what he can expect?
Well, I guess in a country like India, we are living through very good period. Both on personal consumption side as well as now, surprisingly on the manufacturing side, there are very strong tailwinds. See, what we have seen, what we have to see in our lives, how things have changed. We don't realize this, okay? Pre-COVID, we all thought of that India will become the small car capital of the world. You can Google this.
But
right?
it's changed.
Today people are queuing up for SUVs.
Yes.
Today the person who was buying that bike is probably buying a 4-wheeler without even asking for the mileage.
Yes.
Right? So things are changing. As country gets richer, a lot of things change. Our eating habits outside, outside eating out beyond house, eating habits are I think 2 times a month. Even in countries like Thailand, which can be sort of a Asian peer, people eat 20 times a month.
20 times a month?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a function of labor participation,
Okay.
women working, etc. But the point stays, as we become richer as a nation, which we will, our consumption patterns will change, our lifestyles will change, and there's a lot of money to be made in these things. So when you mentioned that 5 years, 5 years will capture a part of that trend. First.
Correct. What kind of return can be anticipated?
I'll tell you, as a ballpark, longer-term investor would always expect, the GDP growth rate plus inflation kind of return, and that's I think a fair expectation from the market. Right?
Okay.
Why would a person take risk to put money in the market? Right?
Yes.
He wants his investment to be an inflation hedge.
Yes.
Even if we expect inflation to be around 6%, 5% in the long term, it should give more than that. Right? And then he's taking extra risk with equity, so little volatility. So when we also look at companies, our process is also sort of built to look for companies which will grow faster, more than 15%. As in very highly developed countries, it is very difficult to find high growth companies which will give you 15% plus return. But in our country, it's a little easier because of the stage of development that we are in. Now, that said, equity market has its own mind. It will have its problems, volatility, global. Longer term, if you get that kind of returns, it's great. But, it may not come in a linear fashion. There will be volatility. Mentally, we have to be all prepared and we should be very clear that this investment of mine, though volatile, will give me superior returns over the long term. This has been proven. Right? There's no rocket science left to this. What I'm saying is nothing different. There are funds with 25-year track records now. Market itself, you can have 5-year, 10-year, 15-year data. You can have bull data. You can have bear data. You can have very severe correction like a 2008. You can have a shallow correction like 2020. You can make up your mind about what kind of risk you can take. But broadly, I think that the equities give you superior returns over the long term. Is something that will not change in my opinion, and for your next 5 years also that will not change.
Okay, that's fantastic. One last question, Asit. Okay, as you said, your real estate fund never got into the quartile 4. Okay, that's a great achievement. And in fact, if some fund, say I'm not expecting, say I know your funds are in top 1 or 2 rank now, but I'm not anticipating that will happen. If it stays, then it's really good. Okay, even if not, okay, the investor expectation would be either fund should be part of first quartile or a second quartile consistently. Can we expect that from this fund house?
Well, that's a leading question. I'll answer it this way. Right? One is, of course, you go back into data. Our effort in the process is to have some consistency. Like you said, it can't be guaranteed. That goes without saying, right? But I'll tell you very frankly, okay, we've not landed with the current performance, aiming for it. What we've been trying to achieve is that, how do we give consistent above the average return? And internally our goals have been only to meet Q2.
Okay.
But because the consistency part has worked out much better, you see that some of our funds now are in Q1. In fact, I would think all of them, right? It's less to do with the higher risk that we would have taken, but more to do with our effort to maintain consistency, right? And it's something that we'll endeavor to do, but obviously we can't promise. Right?
Okay. No, that endeavor is...
What I can say is we've done it for a while. Our funds, if you see most of them, they have about a good 10-year track record. Okay, have a look at them and you will see that the data is out there. Which shows our effort to put consistency. But for me to promise anything would be really wrong. And I think investors should do their own analysis on this particular part.
sure.
We'll try our best, that's it. I think promises of this kind are best avoided either from my side, your side, and even I guess investors. If anybody is making such promises to them, they should really open their eyes because this is all in future.
Yeah, nobody has crystal ball. So
Yeah, all that we can do as investment managers is that we can follow a process consistently, because what happens is when you follow a process which works and you consistently follow it, the chances of your success are a little higher. That's what our whole goal and aim is within the team.
thank you. It was a fantastic interview. I'm sure a lot of investors got a lot of clarity, because whoever has questions, I think they would have got clarity with this interview. And then all the best for the fund house.
Thank you very much.
You are really doing good for the investors. I wish and hope that you continue such performance and make my investors richer.
Oh, thank you very much. I guess, it's not us, but it's the opportunities that this great country of ours offers. We are very lucky to be, born and investing in this time frame. This is the opportunity which is there for all of us. We should, I would think, take a little risk, and we are little risk averse. But there are opportunities out there. Country is doing well. Yes, there will be volatility. Valuations are high. They may correct. They may, those things will happen. But now, longer term investing benefits we can all examine. We can all see. I wish all the best to all your investors. I hope they can all maximize the opportunities provided to all of us. Thank you.
థ్యాంక్ యూ. నా ఇంటర్వ్యూ నుంచి కొన్ని కీ పాయింట్స్ అయితే మీకు తెలుగులో సమ్మరైజ్ చేస్తాను. ఫస్ట్ థింగ్, నాకున్న పెద్ద కన్సర్న్ ఫండ్ హౌస్ రిలేటెడ్ నా పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ కన్నా కూడా వీళ్ళు అలాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్స్ తర్వాత ఏమైనా మంచి ప్రాసెస్లు సెర్చ్ చేశారు, లేదా సెర్చ్ చేసినట్టయితే ఆ ప్రాసెస్ ఏంటి, ఇలాంటి వాటి గురించి నాకు కన్సర్న్ ఉన్నది. సో వాటి గురించి కొంచెం ఎక్కువ టైం అయితే ఇనిషియల్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద ఇంటర్వ్యూలో స్పెండ్ చేశాను. దానికి ఆయన ఇచ్చిన ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ ఏంటంటే, మేము సస్టైనబిలిటీ మీద ఎంత ఫోకస్ చేసామంటే, మా ఏవైనా ఫండ్స్ మీరు ఒక 1 year 2 year మాత్రమే కాదు, 1 year 2 yearలో డెఫినెట్లీ టాప్లో ఉన్నాం. 5 year తీసుకొని మీరు డిఫరెంట్ టైమ్ లైన్స్లో బ్రేకప్ చేసి కూడా డైసెక్ట్ చేసి చూడండి. మా ఫండ్స్ అయితే మీకు టాప్ 1 to 2 quartiles అయితే కనబడతాయి. 1 to 2 quartile అంటే ఏంటంటే, లెట్స్ సే ఒక కేటగిరీలోని 100 ఫండ్స్ ఉన్నట్టయితే ఐడియలీ ఏంటంటే ఎవరికో నెంబర్ 1 నెంబర్ 2లో కన్సిస్టెంట్గా ఉండరు. అదైతే రియాలిటీ. చాలామంది కొత్త ఇన్వెస్టర్లకు ఐడియా ఉండదు. ఫస్ట్ 2 quartiles ఉన్నట్టయితే చాలు, ఫండ్ బాగా పర్ఫామ్ చేస్తున్నట్టే అనమాట. అంటే ఫస్ట్ 2 quartiles అంటే ఈ 100 ఫండ్స్ని 25 చెప్పిన 4 parts కింద డివైడ్ చేస్తారన్నమాట. డివైడ్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఫస్ట్ 2 quartile 1 అంటే 1 to 25 to 50 సెకండ్ quartile వస్తామన్నమాట. ఈ 2 quartilesలో ఉంటే సరిపోద్ది. ఫండ్ లాంగ్ టర్మ్లో చాలా మంచి రిటర్న్ డెలివర్ చేస్తుంది. సో ఆయన ఏమంటారంటే, మీరు అలా డైసెక్ట్ చేసి ఒక 5 year పీరియడ్ 10 year పీరియడ్ తీసుకొని చూడండి, మీకు ఫస్ట్ 2 quartilesలో మా ఫండ్స్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద టైం అయితే అపియర్ అవుతాయని చెప్పారు. అండ్ అలాగే మేము ఏదైతే ప్రాసెస్ సెట్ చేసామో, అంటే హ్యూమన్ బయాస్ ఉంటుంది, నాకు ఫండ్ మేనేజర్గా ఉంటుంది, అనలిస్ట్కి ఉంటుంది, ఆ బయాసెస్ని రిమూవ్ చేయడానికి కూడా వీ హ్యావ్ సెటప్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ ప్రాసెసెస్. సో కొన్నిసార్లు మేము స్టాక్స్ ఏవైతే ఉంటాయో 10-15 years హోల్డ్ చేసినా కూడా జస్ట్ నెక్స్ట్ 1 to 3 daysలోనే సెల్ చేస్తాం అన్నమాట. మాకు ఎప్పుడైతే కంపెనీ పరంగా అయిపోయింది, కంపెనీలో పెద్దగా రిటర్న్ ఇన్వెస్టర్ రాదు అనిపించిందో, సో స్టాక్ ప్రైస్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ అంటే బయాసెస్ అన్నింటిని కూడా పక్కన పెట్టి ప్రైస్ రిలేటెడ్గా ఎప్రిసియేషన్ పార్ట్ ఏదైతే దాని మీద ఫోకస్ చేసి, కంపెనీ యొక్క గ్రోత్ మీద ఫోకస్ చేసి మేమైతే ముందుకెళ్తున్నాం. సో ఈ ప్రాసెస్ల వల్లే ఈ అవుట్కమ్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ అయితే వచ్చిందని ఆయన చెప్పారు. నెక్స్ట్ వాళ్ళ ఫండ్ హౌస్ స్టైల్ విషయంకి వచ్చేసరికి, మేము గ్రోత్ ఓరియంటెడ్ పోర్ట్ఫోలియోని మెయింటైన్ చేస్తాం. సో ROE 15% అబౌవ్ ఉండాలి, గ్రేట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్స్ ఉండాలి, ఆపర్చునిటీ సైజ్ పెద్దది ఉండాలన్నారు. అండ్ అలాగే నేను నెక్స్ట్ మీకు ఆపర్చునిటీ ఎక్కడ బాగా కనబడుతుందంటే, డొమెస్టిక్ మార్కెట్లో నాకు ఆపర్చునిటీ బాగా ఎక్కువ కనబడుతుంది. ఎస్పెషల్లీ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్. మీరు వీడియో మొత్తం చూస్తూ ఉంటారు, మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ గురించి ఎన్నిసార్లు డిస్కషన్ వచ్చింది అన్నది మీకు అర్థమవుతుంది. సో ఈ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ పార్ట్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో దీని మీద మేము ఎక్కువగా ఫోకస్ చేస్తున్నాం. అండ్ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ రిలేటెడ్గా మేజర్లీ పవర్ యాజ్ ఎ ఇండస్ట్రీ బాగా గ్రో అవుతుంది. సో పవర్ క్యాపెక్స్ అయితే చాలా జరుగుతున్నది. సో ఆ పవర్ ఇండస్ట్రీలో కూడా చాలా మంచి గ్రోత్ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం అని చెప్పి ఆయన మాట్లాడారు. సో క్లియర్లీ గైస్, లాస్ట్ 1.5 నుంచి మనం అయితే మన ఛానల్లో డిస్కస్ చేస్తూ వస్తున్నాం. ఈ పవర్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో ఇట్ ఈస్ ఈకోయింగ్ కంటిన్యూస్లీ. సో పవర్ యాజ్ ఏ స్పేస్ ఐ థింక్ ప్రతి ఒక్కరు పోర్ట్ఫోలియో ఉండాలని అయితే మనకు క్లియర్లీ అర్థమవుతుంది. అండ్ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ యాజ్ ఏ థీమ్ ప్రతి ఒక్కరు పోర్ట్ఫోలియో ఉండాలని అర్థమవుతుంది. కమింగ్ టు ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ ఓరియంటెడ్ కంపెనీస్ విషయంకి వచ్చేసరికి, ఐటీ ఆర్ కెమికల్స్ ఆర్ ఫార్మా విషయంకి వచ్చేసరికి, ఈ సెట్ మేము కరెంట్లీ అంత వెయిటేజ్ అయితే ఇవ్వట్లేదు. ఎందుకంటే గ్లోబలీ చూసినట్టయితే ఇండియా ఈజ్ డూయింగ్ గుడ్, బట్ మిగిలిన కంట్రీస్ అంత పెద్దగా పర్ఫామ్ చేయట్లేదు. అండ్ ఆ కంట్రీలో పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడే ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ ఓరియంటెడ్ కంపెనీస్కి ఆర్డర్స్ అయితే వస్తాయి. సో అందు గురించి అని చెప్పి ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ ఓరియంటెడ్ కంపెనీస్ అయితే ఐటీ కానీ ఇవన్నీ కూడా కరెంట్లీ వాళ్ళు వెయిటేజ్ ఇవ్వట్లేదు అని చెప్తున్నారు. ఆబ్వియస్లీ ఫండ్ మేనేజర్ ఎవ్రీ ఇయర్ వాళ్ళ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ అయితే డెలివర్ చేస్తూ ఉండాలి. డెలివర్ చేసినప్పుడే కదా పీరియడ్స్ కంపేర్ చేసినప్పుడు ఆ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడే కదా ఎవరైనా వాల్యూ ఇస్తారు. ఇప్పుడు ఇంటర్వ్యూ అయినా జరిగిందంటే వాళ్ళ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఉండబట్టే ఆ ఇంటర్వ్యూ జరిగింది, లేకపోతే ఎవరు పట్టించుకోరు. కాబట్టి ఆటోమేటిక్గా వాళ్ళకి రీసెంట్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ మీద ఫోకస్ ఉంటుంది. కాబట్టి నార్మల్లీ ఇండివిజువల్ ఇన్వెస్టర్స్లో ఆలోచించారు. ఇండివిజువల్ ఇన్వెస్టర్స్ ఏంటంటే నెక్స్ట్ 1 to 2 years రిటర్న్ లేకపోయినా పర్లేదు, నాకు దాని తర్వాత రిటర్న్ వస్తే చాలా వాల్యుయేషన్ బాగుంటే సరిపోద్ది, సేఫ్టీ ఉంటుంది అని చెప్పి ఆలోచించే వాళ్ళు ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో అలాంటి వాళ్ళు ఈవెన్ ఐటీ లాంటి సెక్టర్స్ని అయితే చూడొచ్చు. ఇది నా వ్యూ. బట్ హీఈస్ కరెంట్లీ నాట్ ఫోకసింగ్ ఆన్ ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ ఓరియంటెడ్ కంపెనీస్. అండ్ అలాగే 2-wheeler రిలేటెడ్ కంపెనీస్ మీద కూడా ఆయన పాజిటివ్గా ఉన్నట్టయితే మాట్లాడారు. సో ఓవరాల్గా ఇంటర్వ్యూ అయితే ఇది గైస్. హోప్ మీకు నచ్చి వీడియోని లైక్ చేశారని అనుకున్నాను. మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్ అండ్ ఫ్యామిలీ మెంబర్స్కి హెల్ప్ఫుల్ అవుతుందని మించినట్టయితే వాళ్ళకి తప్పకుండా షేర్ చేయండి. నేను సాయి కృష్ణ పత్రి మరొక మంచి వీడియోతో మీ ముందుకు వస్తాను. టిల్ దెన్ బాయ్, టేక్ కేర్.